What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Welcome into another Steelers Saturday Sit Down with Around the 412. I am Smitty. No Tyler this week. Going to be going out enjoying the Big 12 championship, BYU, Texas Tech. Hopefully he has a great time there, and BYU punches their ticket to the college football playoff that they have not already done. So we'll see how things shake out there for him. I know he's super excited about that. Sent me his predictions. So I still have those. I have a feeling this might be a bit of a shorter live stream, though, for you guys because I don't have anybody to bounce stuff off of other than you guys. So, of course, hit the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you have not already and you are here. Appreciate you being here. Steelers, Ravens tomorrow. I don't know, about you guys. Maybe this is going to provide the juice that I need, but I'm not saying internally. I think the players within those locker rooms and the coaches and stuff are still fired up, but just externally, it doesn't seem like the fan base has the same juice for a Steelers-Ravens game that you would naturally see. And I get it. I kind of fall into that. I think it's because of the way that both of these clubs are playing coming into this one. Somebody has to win the AFC North, though, folks. Somebody has to go to the playoffs from this division. It's going to be one of these two teams, in my opinion. Which one is it going to be? And this isn't me giving a silver lining already or pre-coping or anything like that. But I'll be quite honest with you. I think a split with the Ravens benefits the Steelers much more than it does Baltimore. Let me explain. You look at the three games that these two teams each play that aren't against each other. And on the Steelers side of things, it's Miami at home. It's going to Detroit, which definitely very tough there. And it's going to Cleveland. If you look at Baltimore's schedule, that is not two games against the Steelers. It's Cincinnati in Cincinnati, who they just lost to in Baltimore on Thanksgiving with Joe Burrow back in the fold. It's the New England Patriots and it's the Green Bay Packers. Which schedule would you rather have? So I think the schedule actually kind of favors the Steelers here. I'm not, again, pre-coping before we get to this one. I haven't given my pick yet. I'm not giving a silver lining if they do lose this game or anything like that. I'm just throwing it out there that if you look at the schedules, I think the Steelers aren't dead with a split. So, and honestly, before the season, that's kind of how you would have felt, right? You probably went into this season hoping that a split with the Ravens was going to happen. It almost feels like that's just the way that it goes with these two teams. And this is also a Steelers team that for a large part has had Lamar's number. Before the second meeting last year, he had only one win against the Steelers, and that was the overtime game in 2019 where Mason Rudolph got knocked out of it, and it went to overtime. And we saw Duck Hodges kind of make his entrance there, and the rest is history for what that 2019 season ended up being. My goodness. The fact that team was 8-5 at one point. I know they imploded and finished 8-8, but my goodness. But we're not here to talk about the 2019 Steelers. We're here to talk about the 2025 Steelers in this matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. Again, Joe putting it very eloquently, very excited for this mid-off. That is absolutely what these two teams are. Two teams that I would say if you were to just take the 7 best teams from the AFC, and that's who's in the playoffs, neither one probably there right now, or deserving to be there, I should say. Still looking to find some consistency on both sides of the ball for these two teams. The Ravens have played better defensively over the last month-ish, but again, I think context needs added there that they haven't played very good quarterbacks. They haven't played very good offenses. They haven't played the types of teams at the beginning of the season that were giving them so much trouble and making them look like the team that they looked like they were going to be for the duration of this season. So let's start Steelers defense, Ravens offense as we look at it here. Again, very mundane numbers for a Baltimore offense. You look on the surface and see that they're 4th in rushing. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. They're pretty good rushing offense, but they're not. That's like a volume number for them. They're bottom 5 in terms of rushing success rate. Actually, on a per touch basis, the Steelers are the better running football team. So I look at this Ravens ground attack very bad in short yardage situations. Derrick Henry, for whatever reason, one of the more mystifying things has not been a good short yardage back. And this isn't just a Baltimore thing. That's been the case. Offensive line, not very good. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum is a really good center, but outside of him, Roger Rosengarten's taken a step back. Daniel Falele is not, to me, a very good guard, maybe borderline average. On the other side, obviously some injuries have taken place. There's been some moving pieces, but yeah, it's just not a very good offensive line. Lamar does not look like the same type of athlete, and I don't know if that's just due to the injuries or what that is. It's weird because Like 2 years ago, we were having this conversation about Lamar not looking like the same type of athlete. Seems like that was a very targeted part of the way that he attacked the offseason. Came back last year, kind of like vintage Lamar in terms of what he was doing as a runner. And then this year, it kind of looks back to that where he doesn't look like he's as mobile anymore. And I know he's had some injuries, especially this year. I mean, dealing with the hamstring, now the ankle. Like, there's just been a lot of things that Lamar has dealt with this year physically. But even as a passer, like, he has started 103 games in his NFL career. If you look at the bottom 25, 3 of those bottom 25 have happened in the last 3 weeks in terms of his passer rating. He's not playing very well right now, even when he has played. So something to be said there. I don't think that you can count on that. Just throwing that statistic out there. And then you look at the running game. Derrick Henry has 4 games this year where he has 15 or fewer rushing attempts. Like, Baltimore just goes away from him for whatever reason. Again, one of the more mystifying things about this offense when you look at it on paper. So, again, not something I think that you can count on, just saying that it has happened a lot throughout the course of the season, or even when they're in football games. We just don't see a bunch of volume for Derrick Henry. And he fumbled it on like his first or second touch last year against the Steelers in their first meeting. Obviously, the second meeting in the playoff game went the way that they did. And that taste is still in the Steelers' mouth, right? Like, they have not played this football team since that playoff game. And then last week, the way that it went against Buffalo, very reminiscent of that playoff game. I think this game is very heavy on the minds of everybody in that locker room. So that's why I said at the beginning, like, it doesn't feel like there's a bunch of juice for the fan base. I can tell you there's absolutely a bunch of juice for the coaches and players of this game. Joe says, I don't think Lamar's hamstring is healthy, but it makes it more confusing that the offense doesn't want through Henry if that's the case. Yeah, I mean, like, they have Keaton Mitchell, definitely a very capable back who I'm a fan of, great athlete, like the ideal change of pace, I would say, for Derrick Henry with the burners that he's got. I was curious how he would come back from that pretty major injury, but he looks like all that athleticism is absolutely back. And then Rasheen Ali's fine as well. They use him in the return game, obviously, and he'll get a touch every here and there offensively. But, like, yeah, I mean, like, Derrick Henry, it's been feast or famine. Like, there's games where he has like close to 30 touches. But again, he has 4 games this year with 15 or fewer carries. Actually, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this year with 15 or fewer carries. Now, in terms of touches in those games, he'll have a reception here or there as well. But the most receptions he's had in a game is 3, and that was for 9 yards. So not much in the receiving game. Again, when you have a guy like Keaton Mitchell, you have Rasheen Ali, those guys do more of that work anyway. But yeah, just not a good running football team, despite what it says on the surface that they are 4th in rushing yards this year. If you look at the success rate, you look at the EPA per play, this is not a team that runs the football super well. But we'll see, because the Steelers have kind of been a get-right game for teams that we say that about, that are not able to run the football very well. And no Derek Harmon's still in the fold. That's absolutely a massive part of that. Actually, let's pivot to that. Let's talk about the injuries real quick. Did not practice and are out this week. Ray knew about Derek Harmon. Just talked about that. Calvin Anderson suffered an injury in that dreaded indoor practice, which it seems like every time the Steelers do it, somebody gets hurt. Calvin Anderson and Dante Kent both get hurt in that one. Dante Kent was trying to come back from a previous injury. Now he's out for the year. Kyle Duggar hurt his hand in that same indoor practice. He is out for this game. Chuck Clark will start in his place. I know a lot of people very excited about that. Patrick Queen dealing with that glute thing. I'm curious to see what he is like in terms of his range of motion. He's going to play. He's going to get this out for sure, but I'm curious if we have to see more Cole Holcomb on the field potentially. This is also a game, because of the way that they play, that we could see quite a bit of Malik Harrison. We've seen quite a bit of Malik Harrison the last couple of weeks, for better or worse anyway. But certainly in this matchup against the Ravens, it could make sense to see him some more. Aaron, we knew, was obviously going to play. I think they're just going to do this thing where every Wednesday he doesn't practice. That'll probably be his day off with the wrist thing. Ben Skoranek with the shoulder that he's been dealing with but has been playing. Joey Porter Jr. has an elbow that popped up this week, but he's good. No game designation. James Pierre was able to clear through concussion protocol, which is obviously massive, especially with the team moving on from Darius Slay and Asante Samuel Jr. still being relatively new to the mix. So James Pierre, good to go. And then TJ Watt, somebody stepped on his toe apparently late in that game against the Bills, but fully practiced the last couple days. He's good to go. And then Isaac Seumalo got a rest day, but he's good to go, who has been really good, by the way, Isaac Seumalo. But But anyways, you look at the Ravens offense and the guys that aren't Lamar Jackson, the guys that aren't Derrick Henry, they just paid Mark Andrews. Not sure that that's a contract I would have done. I think I would have kind of pivoted that position to Isaiah Likely being the future there. I understand, how much Mark Andrews means to that franchise, but I just think going forward, Isaiah Likely would have been the guy that I paid. Maybe it would have happened this past offseason had he not been dealing with that injury leading up to the season. I think that they were close based off all the reporting. So not a direction that I would have gone. Mark Andrews is still a guy that obviously can kill you in the red zone, understands soft spots and coverage. He's kind of doing the Travis Kelce thing the way that he's aging, I think. Like, clearly not the same athlete that he has been. That's the Isaiah Likely role now within that offense. But, when you have two receiving tight ends, the Steelers have had trouble with that, obviously, even when there's just one receiving tight end this season. So, but I don't look at this cast of pass catchers as a whole. There's not a ton of fear that they strike into you. Zay Flowers kind of miscast as a wide receiver one within this offense. Joey Porter Jr. has gotten way better of Rashad Bateman in their back and forth results, if you will. Every time that they've seen each other, he's kind of had that matchup. Stylistically, it just makes sense. Even though Zay Flowers is considered the wide receiver one, Joey Porter Jr. has drawn the Rashad Bateman matchup over the years and done very well for himself within those. So curious to see, is it going to be James Pierre? Because profile wise, it's not like there's a ton of difference between Joey and James Pierre. So Asante Samuel Jr., I think, could definitely draw that matchup quite a bit. I don't know that they're going to necessarily shadow as much as I'm saying about Joey getting the better of Rashad Bateman. Maybe they will. We'll see. But we'll see. In terms of the way that they're going to match up with those guys, the tight ends are really where it starts for me in terms of the receiving game for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, despite what I said about Andrews, he's still obviously able to do, like I said, find those soft spots in coverage. He's just not as good at after the catch as he would have been at one point in time, obviously. And also, we're getting to the point in the calendar, for whatever reason, Mark Andrews just gets the yips. December and January have not been super kind to Mark Andrews throughout his career. You go back and look at the numbers, and certainly once they get into the playoffs, but even in the month of December, for whatever reason, his play just seems to fall off a cliff. But all right, yeah, share with me any thoughts that you have, obviously, about the Ravens offense going against the Steelers defense, and then I'll flip the script and talk about the Steelers offense here. Mentioned the Ravens defense has played better over the last month or so. Haven't played great quarterbacks, haven't played great offenses. They're still not playing one this week. Say the same thing every week, but it really feels like this passing game needs to funnel through the tight ends or extensions of the run game and the screen stuff. Get, Kenny Gainwell or Jalen Warren on some choice routes, some Texas routes out of the backfield, maybe some wheel routes. They beat last year against Baltimore, Cordero Patterson out of the backfield. Beat Malik Harrison, new Pittsburgh Steeler, on a wheel route. So I don't know, maybe in their back pocket. I do think they're going to try to get very creative in this one, like throwing the kitchen sink at Baltimore, because Baltimore defensively, they have that star in Kyle Hamilton who they move around a ton. But from a talent perspective, it's not there. They have a lot of old guys as well. They have guys that are kind of miscast in different spots. Kyle Hamilton being able to move around everywhere kind of keeps that thing together. So I think they're going to try to throw some different things at them. You always got to be aware of where he is at, obviously. But, yeah, I think that MVS is going to get a helmet. I'm expecting that to happen. We'll see about Thielen. I would assume you could see a massively different wide receiver room for this game, by the way, because I think both those guys could very well get helmets tomorrow, and I'm curious to see how that shakes out for the rest of the room. The obvious thing is Keyshawn Williams and Scotty Miller don't get helmets, but then you're also do you have enough to go around, obviously, on the defensive line? Do they need another player in the secondary? James Pierre clearing concussion protocol. That's why it's so big. So, but yeah, so MVS and Adam Thielen, I think, could get helmets. We'll see how much that will matter. For me, Thielen in the red zone, even if he's going to be on, not play a bunch, I think that's where you got to get to the red zone. But that's where I think that you could use him as obvious passing situations, third and medium, and then obviously in the red zone. Logan said this game will probably play out exactly how Tomlin likes them to. Crappy football for the entire game. Game is decided in the last-minute field goal in a low-scoring game. As long as they're on the right side of that, I don't really care how it plays out, to be honest with you. But that kind of sounds like a what we're used to Steelers Ravens, but not necessarily like recently Steelers Ravens. And when I say recently, I mean those last two matchups last year. We'll see. I didn't look into the forecast. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like there tomorrow. This one's on the road, so I haven't paid attention to the forecast. So I don't know. That could certainly play into it. Yeah, offensively, I mean, for the love of God, we got to stop doing the Jonnu Smith stuff. Like, one, he's playing too much. Two, when he is playing, the way that they're using him makes absolutely no sense. I mean, he was the lead blocker on a 4th and 2 run out of shotgun from Kenny Gainwell last week. Like, what are we doing? You're asking him to block Gregory Rousseau one-on-one on a 4th and 2. I mean, anytime that they asked him to block, even like out in space, he's taken like 3 holding calls this year out in space trying to block. He cannot do it. Please quit asking him to do it. I think that we have really found out throughout the course of this season, ultimately the Dolphins were right in their evaluation. That he is a player that can be productive if the production is schemed up for him. Tight end screens, getting the ball out quick with on these in-breaking routes and like just letting him run, because he is a good player once the ball is in his hands and he converts to a runner. But how do you get in his hands when he can't beat man? Like, he can't beat man coverage. And I don't know. Yeah, it's been bad. I think that there was a lot of skepticism about how the fit was going to be. How much different is he than Pat Freiermuth? What can he do differently? Is he going to take him off the field? Because this team could probably live out of 12 personnel, but it's got to be with 80 and 88, not 80 and 81. So that's an experiment that has not gone well for them offensively. That's another one. Like, we spent so much time talking about the running backs and the way that they have been utilized and the snap share between them. And I don't know, tight end, I feel like up until last week, I think like when Pat only played 17 snaps against Buffalo, I think the conversation became pretty loud. I'm curious to see if there's an intention to get him more involved this week based off him only playing 17 snaps, what he had to say afterwards, the attention that got within the media. We'll see. Joel said he'd rather see Connor out there blocking. I mean, yeah, same. I mean, but also Pat's not a great blocker, but I think that we've seen a relatively large jump in that area since like 2023-ish. I mean, he's gone from cannot do it to, I'd say, average at doing it, at least within the tasks that are asked of him. So, I mean, his uncle's an offensive line coach. I know he's been working with him for a few years now, trying to improve in that respect. So I think that it's played out that way. Are they going to be able to run the ball? I looked at this defensive line. No Matabwike, obviously. I think his career is kind of up in the air at this point. And you can run the ball on this team as well. Like, this is not a typical Steelers Ravens matchup on paper. Will it play out the same way as Logan's talking about here? Potentially, because it just seems to happen regardless of the records of these two teams, the way that they're built. Typically doesn't matter. Throw it out the window. But just on paper, this is a team that you should be able to run the football against and beat through the air, just not over top. They do a pretty good job keeping a lid on things, but you can throw under against them pretty much all day. Like, they'll let you dink and dunk, get into the red zone, hopefully shut it down. We just saw that against Cincinnati on Thanksgiving for a long time. Like, if Cincinnati was better in the red zone in that game, that's I mean, it didn't even look close on the scoreboard by the end of it, but it wouldn't have been basically the entire way if Cincinnati was good in the red zone. Joe was one for his first 10, I think, in the red zone, which is actually an area where the Steelers have been relatively good, is in the red zone. They just haven't been there a bunch. So Josiah says, wouldn't be surprised if this game becomes a tight end showcase. I mean, you just think about the best eligibles on either side, like Likely and Andrews certainly up there for the Ravens. And I'd say 2 of the top 5 for the Steelers are the tight ends as well. If you were just taking the best eligibles on the Steelers side, it's Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf, Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, and Kenny Gainwell, right? I mean, that's probably their best 5 eligibles on offense right now, without seeing MVS and Adam Thielen in the fold, obviously, yet for them, which I think at least one of those guys is going to happen tomorrow, but I think it's on the table for it to be both. So I think it's a good shout. I think the tight ends are definitely going to be the focal point of the passing games. Again, I just don't know if weather's going to impact that at all. If teams are going to have to run the football because of the weather conditions, I have no clue what it's supposed to be like at M&T Bank Stadium tomorrow. You can keep your thoughts rolling, obviously, but I want to get into some bold predictions here, both offensively, defensively, and then, of course, give some game predictions as well. Tyler sent me his. So typically go back and forth, obviously, offense, defense, score. I'll pretend as if he's here. Just pretend that I am Tyler, and we'll still go back and forth. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball because I just mentioned how good of a job the Ravens do keeping a lid on things typically, despite their defense not being very good. They haven't given up a bunch of explosives, or if they have, they've been created after the catch. You're not going over the top on them. Well, the Steelers, who have done that very little offensively in terms of taking the top off of defenses, this is very bold for that reason. So, it's one of those cases where the Steelers have not been able to do this. The Ravens have been doing this pretty much all year. The Steelers are going to have 2 plays in this one through the air over 20 air yards. So 2 big-time passing plays for the Steelers offense. I don't know why. Just a weird feeling. That's what this is. This is weird inklings, weird feelings that we get about this game. That's what makes it bold. So this on paper makes no sense to predict. MVS getting in the lineup, he could certainly be a guy to take the top off. Curious to see the way that they match up with guys because, again, it's not somebody that strikes fear within you in this passing attack. It's not DK Metcalf amongst the receivers. So is he going to see true double coverage with a bracket over top as well? Or how are they going to divvy that up? I mean, Chidobe Awuzie's played pretty good. Nate Wiggins, who left last week in that game on Thanksgiving with the foot thing, I thought looked pretty bad. I was actually surprised that he's not going to miss any game time, but I'd test him early for that reason. Curious to see how he looks physically. So, yeah, I'm going to say 2 passing plays over 20 air yards, which the Steelers have not done in over a month, and the Ravens do not give up at all. So even if I were to predict 1, I think that would be relatively bold. Brooklyn says weather 39 degrees and clear, 11-mile-an-hour winds. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, shouldn't necessarily affect it. I think you should be able to throw the ball if that's the case. Speak of throwing the ball, here's Tyler's offensive bold prediction. So Aaron Rodgers has not thrown more than 3 touchdowns since October 16th, that Thursday night game against Cincy when he had 4. Ravens have not allowed more than 3 passing touchdowns in a game since October 6th versus the Houston Texans. Aaron Rodgers is having 3+ touchdown passes in this game, says Tyler. I wish you would have expanded upon this. Who's receiving those touchdowns, Tyler? That's what the people want to know. This is bold, though, for sure, with the way that Aaron has been playing, with the way the Ravens defense has been playing, with the way the Steelers pass catchers have been playing, the offense as a whole. I mean, if they score 3 touchdowns in this one in general, I think that they're going to have a pretty decent shot. So don't mind that at all. Tyler thinks Rodgers 3+ touchdowns in this one. Defensively, we'll start with Tyler's for this one. Pretty simple. Peyton Wilson, multi-turnover game. Peyton Wilson had his first turnover against the Baltimore Ravens. If you guys remember that crazy interception where it was very Devin Bush on Mark Andrews but I think Peyton's, was it against Justice Hill? I believe was who he plucked that off of. Going with him down the sidelines there. So Peyton Wilson, multi-turnover game. Defensively, I'm excited about this one because I feel like this guy should have been a part of this rivalry much earlier. If you were to take somebody from the current roster and drop them into those very heated Steelers and Ravens rivalry, who's the first guy you think of? Because to me, first guy I think of is Jalen Ramsey. Missed a couple days of practice this week with rest and whatever was going on. Not sure if he was dealing with something because he wasn't even in the building. But back in the fold on Friday, he's good to go for this one, and just seems like a Steelers-Ravens type of player. So I'm excited. I'm excited about seeing Jalen Ramsey in this one and the temperament that he is going to play with. He always kind of toes that line, right? Can't step over it. Make sure you don't get baited. Do not step over that line and cost yourself or the team. But I think he's the perfect type of player to play within this rivalry and spark something. Also, I missed this one. I think the O-line problems dictate the tight ends and run game to be emphasized. 5 turnovers for the defense, says Josiah. I mean, what they have, they've done it twice this year already, but they haven't done it in some time. Joe on offense, I have MVS catching a long ball touchdown, Jalen Warren bowling ball receiving touchdown. I want to know, is what's got to happen for it to be considered a bowling ball receiving touchdown? Because I assume that's the amount of broken tackles. So what qualifies? Is it just one, or does it have to be multiple? Which Jalen, I feel like the first guy's like never brought him down this year. So yeah, there's my defensive one. Hope we don't see any stupid penalties. Micah Chippy. Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about with like towing that line. You got to be on the right side of it. So no problem with it getting physical, with it getting chippy, but don't do anything that's going to cost your team 15 yards and potentially getting tossed. So, all right, let's talk some final scores. I will preface by saying Tyler and I do not have the same. We're going in different directions. So one of us is going to be correct, and one of us you're going to be very upset with. So let's start with Tyler's. In a matchup that neither side seems excited for the winner, the winner's still going to be in first place in the NFC North. I think the Steelers come out more focused. It's a divisional rival game. Find more success offensively. Stop Lamar from totally taking this one over. Steelers 27, Ravens 20. So Tyler's got the Steelers winning this one, which kind of tells you the way that I'm going. I agree. This kind of goes back to the like lack of juice thing, right? Like you would think that this game, not meaningless, but it's just another game on the schedule for both of these teams right now. The winner of this game is in first place in the AFC North. And if you look at the Athletics playoff model, about a 75% chance to make the playoffs for the winner and about a 25% chance for the loser of this game to make the playoffs. That's the magnitude of this game is massive. And yet it still just doesn't feel that way to the outside. And I get it because neither team is playing super well. Something's got to give, though. Somebody's got to win this game. Somebody's got to win this division. I will say that, like, to me, it was surprising that it was that drastic because this is the first time they've met. They still play again in Week 18 in Pittsburgh. So I'm not sure that I agree with the Steelers only having a 25% chance or less than 25% chance to make the playoffs, even if they lose this game. Because, again, you look at they'll play again Week 18, so it still have the chance to split there at home. And then you look at the 3 games prior to that. It's Miami. It's going to Detroit. Definitely tough. And it's going to Cleveland. On the Ravens side of things, it is New England, Green Bay, and Cincinnati, who just beat them, now back in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow back in the fold. I don't know. I would rather be in the Steelers' position right now than I would Baltimore Ravens. How funny of a scenario is this? Steelers finish 8-9. So the 500 or better streak is over. But they win the division at 8-9. Host a playoff game. And then also in the playoff win drought in the same season that the 500 or above ends. That's like that's the funniest scenario that happens here to me. I don't want funny. I want the Steelers to win out. But I'm just saying that has certainly occurred to me. And it kind of looks possible. It kind of looks possible because if they were to, I mean, I ultimately think this team finishes 9-8. I'll say that because I still think they're going to split with Baltimore. And then I think they win 2 of those 3. I think they'll beat Miami and Cleveland. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm just saying if you look at the schedule as a whole, I still think this team finishes 9-8. So my final score, obviously, based off what I told you guys. Obviously, I had the Ravens winning this one because I said Tyler and I were going to be different. I just have a hard time trusting, honestly, either side of the ball right now. But the offense was punching above their weight for a while. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't trust them in this matchup. I don't trust them in general. I'm not sure how much of a spark MVS or Adam Thielen can add to this thing. So 24-16 Ravens. No, Josiah, he's playing. He didn't practice he was limited Wednesday and didn't practice Thursday, but he was good on Friday and he's playing. So he's good to go. But I mean, I don't know how much he's going to run. It was a hamstring injury earlier. Now he's dealing with an ankle injury. So like that aspect of it, I'm not expecting to see a bunch of. Unrelated, but Kyle Duggar being out is huge. He's been one of our strong tacklers. I mean, there's no way around it. That's certainly a significant downgrade going from Kyle Duggar to Chuck Clark, in my opinion. Especially based off the body of work that we've seen just within a Steelers uniform. I think that they could do something differently that we haven't seen a ton of this year. Defensively, we could see some 5-1-5 defense. We could see some heavy nickel. I think that this Ravens matchup has been on their mind for nearly a year. Like, they built their entire offseason around thinking about this matchup, really, in terms of the way that they attack the draft specifically. I mean, 3 of their first 4 picks were with this matchup in mind and stopping the run. You don't have that first round pick at your disposal on Sunday, but just going to how much that game hurt their pride. Both those games, the end of the year regular season game and then in the playoffs, especially when they ran for almost 300. So I get the Ravens 24-16. And I don't think that that's a death sentence for the Steelers. I think the Ravens are going to win this matchup, but they have the tougher schedule rest of the way. As long as we get to week 18 and it's still a meaningful game, week 18 could be for the division at Acrisure. And if the Steelers can split, they could definitely still win this division. So again, I don't understand why the percentages are the way that they are, especially on the Steelers side of things. Like, if the Ravens lose this one, it's going to be very tough for them. Packers, Patriots, Bengals, and then Steelers in Pittsburgh. That's tough. It's going to be tough for the Steelers too, but I'm just saying tougher for the Ravens. So I don't think that the percentages should be that lopsided, but obviously whoever wins this game is going to be in the driver's seat. Ravens are going to play Renegade. I'm trying to think in the past I'm sure that they have when they've been winning, but when they've won a game at Acrisure, they've been one of the teams on the sidelines waving the towels and stuff. That's just always the most demoralizing part, being at a game, is when the other teams like really start to enjoy it. Happened with Green Bay. Happened with Buffalo for sure. There was one last year that was just like super animated on the sidelines. One team. I know Jacksonville a couple years ago. 22, I think that was. But anyway, getting off track. Let me know what you guys think. The final score of this game is going to be. Let me know your bold predictions as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you have not already. This also goes up on all the audio platforms, so leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're over there, Apple, Spotify. Wherever you get your podcast from, you will find us there. Another Steelers show next week, obviously. Without Tyler being around as much, we didn't end up doing a Penguin show this week, but definitely be back on track with that as well. Yeah, the Titans famously did that. Lendale White, for sure. TJ Houshmandzadeh, the Bengals used to wipe it on his cleats. There's a couple famous ones, but 17-12 Steelers. Interesting score. Honestly, I would feel pretty good about the defense, I think, after that one. No Kyle Duggar, hold the Ravens to 12 points. I'd feel pretty good about it. But yeah, let me know your guys' predictions, whether you're here live or, watching, listening back. Be sure to get me those bold predictions, score predictions, all that good stuff. 31-26 Steelers. If we score over 30, now I'm feeling this is the opposite of Josiah's prediction. Now I'm feeling pretty good about the offense's ability to bounce back there. But I got to see what it looks like as well, not just the box score. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, sticking with me when it was just me. Tyler will be back in the fold next week, hopefully coming off of a win. And we can talk about that, be very much more upbeat, talk about this team being in first place in the division and how we can hang on to that going into a Monday night game against the Miami Dolphins. But don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's take care of this business against the Ravens. Appreciate you guys, and here we